A build that is truly meta is one that can function well in raids, Grandmaster Nightfalls, onslaughts, and solo flawless dungeons alike. A build that does incredible damage, tops the kill leaderboard, has a fun gameplay loop, and provides borderline invincibility. A build that enables a solo player to beat whatever they want, or a team player to impress their friends with their skill. And that is the build I have constructed just for you today. Along with this build comes an emblem giveaway raffle that you can enter simply by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment down below, along with another emblem being given away whose code is hidden somewhere in this video. There is no better place to start this build than with its exotic armor piece, the Relativism Exotic Hunter Cloak. But please don't panic if you don't own many or any of the roles of this cloak, as I have an alternative exotic armor piece that you can use that will enable this build to work perfectly fine. As for the cloak, my absolute favorite role for this build involves the Spirit of the Inmost Light in slot 1, which upon activating any basic ability of grenade, powered melee, or class ability grants a stack of empowered abilities for 5 seconds, maxing out at 2 stacks. For each stack of empowered abilities, you receive 400% bonus grenade and melee ability regeneration rate and 25% bonus class ability regeneration rate, capping out at 800% bonus grenade and melee regen and 50% bonus class ability regen at the maximum of 2 stacks. We'll then want to pair this with the Spirit of the Cytorachne, which simply grants Woven Mail for 10 seconds on grenade usage, adding a bonus 45% damage resistance while active. An exotic class item with these two spirits works exceptionally well to not only provide maximum ability uptime to all basic abilities, but to also provide maximum uptime to the Woven Mail damage resistance buff to make us extremely difficult to kill. In the event that you do not own an Inmost Light and Cytorachne class item, you'll want to prioritize getting a class item with the Inmost Light and any other perk until you can find this perfect pairing. The best way to go about doing this is to head to the Lost City landing zone in the Pale Heart of the Traveler and attune the Inmost Light perk through Ghost to significantly increase your chances of exotic class items dropping with this perk. You can then farm exotic class items by purchasing them from Zur in the tower, farming chests or overthrow events in the Pale Heart destination, or by teaming up with a friend and running the Dual Destiny exotic mission, the first weekly clear of which will reward 2 drops. If you need someone to run with, consider joining our Discord server linked in the description below and using the LFG channel to find a player also looking to acquire this exotic class item. In the event that you have no interest in farming for an exotic class item or simply want something to hold you over while you hunt for this combination, using the Cytorachne's Facade exotic helmet will work perfectly fine with this build. For the basic abilities of the build, we'll be kicking things off with the Grapple Grenade, an incredible mobility tool that also allows you to grapple melee after activation, lunging forward to deal significant damage and unravel anything hit by the radial damage. Remember that Unravel is a strand debuff that effectively acts as a virus, causing unraveled targets to release 3 seeking threads towards other enemies, dealing damage to and also unraveling targets that they hit. It's worth noting as well that any target afflicted with any strand debuff will also spawn a Tangle upon death, a pickup that can not only be thrown or blown up to deal AoE damage, but can also be grappled to without consuming the Grapple Grenade charge. With experience, you can do some pretty crazy stuff with Tangles with this build, such as grappling to them to pick them up, then throwing them at a target and grappling to the Tangle to hitch a ride to the enemy, then following up with a grapple melee on a nearby target to unravel and kill it, to generate a new Tangle and do the whole thing all over again. We'll also be employing the Strand melee ability for this build, Threaded Spike, a rope dart that can bounce between up to 9 enemies, damaging and severing all targets that it hits. Remember that Sever is a strand debuff that decreases afflicted enemies' outgoing damage by 40%. Furthermore, this melee ability has a special boomerang-like function that allows you to reactivate this melee ability at the right time to catch it, refunding melee energy based on how many targets it hit. A really neat trick to guarantee that you always successfully catch this melee, even without looking at it, is to keep an eye on the melee icon on the bottom left of your screen. Once it goes from empty and grayed out to fully green and inverted on its x-axis, that is the sign that it is ready to be caught, at which point you can press your melee button to successfully catch it no matter what. But if you do mess up the catch, it's honestly not that big of a deal, considering that our final basic ability is the Gambler's Dodge, which when activated near enemies, fully refunds your melee ability. For this build's aspects, we will first be utilizing Winter's Shroud, slowing all nearby enemies on class ability activation and significantly increasing class ability regeneration anytime enemies are slowed. This aspect, along with the effects of all of our other abilities, play perfectly into our second aspect, Stylish Executioner, which grants us 8 seconds of invisibility upon defeating any enemy afflicted with an elemental debuff, such as the Slow from Winter's Shroud, the Sever from Threaded Spike, or even the Unravel from Grapple Grenade. Furthermore, while invisible from Stylish Executioner, melee attacks deal 200% increased damage and weaken enemies for 5 seconds. Another elemental debuff that can similarly send you back into invisibility through Stylish Executioner. With these 3 basic abilities and the massive ability regeneration and damage resistance from our exotic class item, you effectively, when used properly, have an evergreen rotation of constant ability barrages with Severing Threaded Spikes, free grapple melees from Tangles, and constant slowing from Winter's Shroud, with invisibility activating in between every single kill. And things only get better with the 5 fragments we are able to employ, beginning with the Facet of Protection for a bonus 15% damage resistance when near a minimum of 3 enemies. In slot number 2 is the Facet of Solitude, an additional way to sever enemies by creating a severing burst around any enemy after landing precision hits, not only cutting all afflicted enemies' damage output by 40%, but also causing it to generate a tangle upon its death. In slot number 3 is the Facet of Dawn, granting the user Radiant a 20% weapon damage buff when landing a powered melee hit, and granting this buff to all nearby allies as well when landing a powered melee final blow. And speaking of powered melee hits and final blows, this is not only applicable to the Threaded Spike melee ability, but also to the melee attack used after activating the Grapple Grenade. This idea also rings true for our 4th fragment, the Facet of Blessing, starting health regeneration anytime you land a melee final blow. Finally, we round things out with the Facet of Purpose, awarding an elemental buff on Orb of Power pickup depending on the element of your super, granting Woven Mail for Silk Strike, Void Overshield for Tether, Amplified for Storm's Edge, Frost Armor for Silence and Squall, and Restoration for Golden Gun. Speaking of your super, you have a few choices here depending on what type of content you are doing in conjunction with what type of elemental buff you want to receive from the Facet of Purpose. My personal picks are Golden Gun and subsequently Restoration when I want constant health regeneration and high single target damage, Tether and Void Overshield when I'm playing Grandmaster content and need better ad control and durability, or Storm's Edge and Amplified when I want to play full offensive and can strongly benefit from a mobile super along with 15% bonus damage resistance and even higher evasion with Amplified. For the armor mods of this build, we'll kick things off on the helmet with a Siphon mod matching the element of your primary ammo weapon of choice for Orb of Power generation on weapon multi-kills, along with a heavy ammo finder and, if energy permits, a heavy ammo scout. On the gloves, you'll look to run a copy of Heavy Handed for Orb of Power generation on powered melee final blows, a copy of Impact Induction for grenade energy refund when dealing powered melee damage, and a copy of Focusing Strike for class ability energy refund when dealing powered melee damage. All 3 of which will activate not only from your Threaded Spike melee ability, but of course also from your grapple grenade melee as well. Down on the chest, I simply recommend a concussive dampener mod in conjunction with whatever elemental resistances best suit the enemies you are currently fighting. On the boots, you'll slot in a scavenger mod for bonus ammo on brick pickups, as well as a surge mod for bonus weapon damage while armor charged from Orb of Power pickup, both matching the element of your heavy ammo weapon of choice. If energy permits, you'll also want to lock in an innervation mod for grenade energy refund on Orb of Power pickup as well. Finally, on the class item, you'll slot in a copy of Reaper for Orb of Power generation on weapon final blows after class ability activation, Powerful Attraction to collect all nearby orbs on class ability activation, and a copy of Bomber for grenade energy regeneration, of course, also on class ability activation. And while not necessary in any capacity or essential to the build's core functionality, this build can also benefit from a few current episodic artifact mods like Disruptor Spike to increase the Sever enemy damage output debuff from 40% to 52%, as well as Horde Shuttle to spawn threadlings when dealing weapon damage to unraveled enemies. Now, if you want to make life super easy on yourself and get right to playing with this build, you can reference it anytime using the Mobalytics written guide link down in the description, which also includes a Destiny item manager link that you can use to equip every single thing in this build to your Guardian in just one click. If you found this build and video helpful, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons while you're down there as well to support my channel and catch future meta builds. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.